What's happening, forum? Welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where we got three hosts for you today's equals three hosts. That is, okay. So anyway, our first host is named me, Red Drum Arts. And now you guys introduce yourself.
I am second host. My name is Patrick.
I am the third host. My name is Lugia. Hi.
So anyway, that opening was the opening to basically the equals three show with Ray William Johnson. You guys ever watch that show?
No.
I've
Mm.
seen a few episodes back in the day, but I mainly recognize Ray William Johnson for Your
Your
Favorite
favorite
Martian.
Martian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's just briefly jump into some news. Nickelodeon was basically going to make their own version of Smash Brothers for console and PC. This is actually part of a series. They did used to have these on the Nickelodeon website, but this is the first time they're making like an official non-browser based game.
Okay, so we got a Cartoon Network fighting game, a Nickelodeon fighting game. When's the Disney Channel fighting game? Come
Yeah, I
on.
want to see Corey in the house.
I don't think Core in the House is going to be in it,
Given,
considering
I don't
yeah.
think we've seen any of the
real
live
life
action
events.
characters in Nickelodeon Smash Bros. Yet.
Yeah,
But
that's not what I
Disney
meant.
Channel, Disney Channel has its share of animated stuff.
Mickey
Yeah, Kim
Mouse.
Possible. Okay, sure
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Phineas and Ferb.
actually, wait. Now that I think about it, Disney's been doing the crossover video games before any of them.
Oh yeah,
Kingdom
with
Yeah, but
Kingdom
they haven't they
Hearts.
haven't they haven't done a fighting game.
Yeah, I guess. But if they make a fighting game, it'll probably be a Kingdom Hearts fighting game. So a bunch of Disney characters and then anime boys. So back to video games. Steam. They finally released the Nintendo Switch Pro. That's a cheap joke, but yeah. Steam released their own little portable Nintendo Switch-like device. I'm curious about if it's gonna be successful. Alienware actually released a similar thing a few years back, but it did not catch on. But since this is Steam, which is a pretty huge company, it might. Who knows?
I already know of a couple people who pre-ordered it.
Yeah. See, unlike lots of people act like the console war is just between Nintendo,
And
Sony,
Sony.
and Microsoft, but arguably Valve is a bigger company than Microsoft, because ironically, despite Microsoft being the company that most people run their computers off of, Steam is actually the PC video game industry, basically. The
I feel like
entirety of it.
Microsoft and the Xbox brand isn't really talked about as much anymore.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that Microsoft's reputation is better than Sony's right now. It's just they don't really have a killer app, so no one's really buying their consoles.
Yeah. Yeah, like I remember when a few months ago when the PlayStation 5 came out, that was all over the news. Everybody's running to get a PlayStation 5. Nobody was talking about the new Xbox console that came out.
I do predict that the Xbox console is likely going to get a lot more success once the new Halo comes out, because a lot of people think this new Halo actually looks good. Who knows? A lot of people don't realize this, but Halo is not only one of the most popular games of all time, but it is so popular it single-handedly made Xbox 360 one of the best-selling consoles ever.
It's also what put the original Xbox on the map.
If we're talking about that console generation, no company even came close to touching Sony that generation.
No, PlayStation 2 is the best-selling console of all time.
Yeah, granted, a lot of people bought it just for as a DVD player because it was cheaper than DVD players. But
And it could play video games too, so 2-in-1.
and if we're talking like the other most successful consoles of all time, that's Nintendo, I believe, with all their portable stuff and the Wii.
I think it's the original DS. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
That was
Yeah,
huge.
the original
Mhm.
DS, then the original Game Boy, then I believe the Wii is somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
What's the last news? Oh yes, the obituaries. Famous rapper Biz Markie passed away. You may know him for his hit "Just a Friend" and for his appearances on Yo Gabba Gabba.
I've never watched Yo Gabba Gabba.
I think I've seen it a couple times back then.
All right, but you guys have heard of the song "Just a Friend," right?
How does it go?
Maybe.
It's the one that's really like poorly sung out of tune. It's like you got what I need.
Oh yeah, I know that song.
I might
It's a
have
song
heard of it
that's
before. I don't know.
It's a
Oh,
song that's like kind of poorly done, but it's like poorly done in such a way that everyone kind of loves it. It's a song that I never met a person that doesn't like. He is one of the I guess old school rappers that is highly respected to this day. Everyone likes Biz Markie. It's like everyone liking Kermit the Frog. I actually want to just briefly tell this story, but recently Danny Trejo announced that actually told the story. I'm not sure how recent it was, but I recently heard of this story Danny Trejo told, where during the filming of Muppets Most Wanted, his mother passed away, and he was completely stone faced, through it all, through the funeral and everything. But then Kermit the Frog, or his actor, he came up to him, and in the voice he was like, he comforted like Danny Trejo was like, "Oh, I'm sorry about your mom." And Danny said that at that point, because it was like the stupid little frog, he just broke down and started crying, and like it was like, you ever cry on the shoulder, Kermit the Frog? Weirdest thing. Anyway, we are going to talk about the movie, sort of. So today we're talking about two movies. As you can guess by the intro, we're going to be talking about something going to equals 3. So we're going to start off with that one. So, little background. In 2013, Ray William Johnson was basically getting tired of his show and he wanted to sort of break into the mainstream. So he attempted to make an indie film or an indie miniseries called Riley Rewind.
I would
So Riley
struggle to call
Rewind,
this a movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's only
it's
like 45 minutes in total.
Yeah, so it's like a short film slash miniseries because he released it in 5 parts, 10 minutes each on YouTube. So you could argue it's a miniseries or a short film. Either really works. It's paced like a show, so I'm gonna argue it's a miniseries. It stars Anna Akana, who is also a YouTuber and was at the time Ray William Johnson's girlfriend. Right now, she is actually incredibly successful. She's acted in minor roles in a lot of movies, so good for her. She's also still a active and successful YouTuber, so she's done very well for herself. Ray hasn't. After he ended Equals 3, his channel kind of slowly started to decline. It was still successful. People liked the first host, but once the third host came in, the show kind of just fell off the rails and then never recovered. And his sketch show did decently, but it got some heat. He was accused of plagiarizing grade A under A for one video, so that didn't do well. And yeah, after that, he just kind of started making like videos for Facebook, started doing vlogs, and now he's found success on TikTok. Interestingly enough,
Really?
yeah, he's made a bit of a comeback on TikTok. Good for him. Even though I wouldn't say Ray William Johnson's videos are particularly good, he was an ambitious person. He was the first person to really understand YouTube, and it's nice that he's found a new home for himself. So good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand the reason Equals 3 was successful is because he was the first YouTuber to really understand consistency. He was the first person that decided to make a consistent series where people would tune in every week around the same time to watch it. He was the first person to really make YouTube like television.
Which
He
is what
also,
people don't like.
yes, but at the same time, consistency is also something people like about YouTube because he still made it feel like, he was just filming it in his college dorm, filming it, in his apartment. It still felt like a one guy sort of passion project, but it had a consistent to it where like, you had a reason to subscribe because every week you knew you were gonna get a video. With other YouTubers, they just had to upload it sporadically. There was no schedule. Ray was the first person to be like, yeah, you're gonna get a schedule. And you also knew exactly what you're gonna get because the show was a series where we talked about viral clips.
It is nice for YouTubers to have schedules, but at the same time, once they do stick to a schedule, sometimes they feel the need to rush out products whether or not the quality is good.
Yeah, and
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
yeah. Luckily, Ray's quality was never good, so he never needed to worry about that. But
Ooh, burn.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
yeah. So Ray's whole thing is that he just talked about sort of viral clips. It's so successful as he basically became a hub for people to like, oh, I can watch the best things. However, eventually, the viral clip people start to sue him, and he lost the lawsuit because he really didn't add much to the clips. He just basically did shitty stand up in between clips. So kind of like Chappelle's show. The difference is that the sketches that Chappelle played were his own sketches that he made and wrote, not other people's. And I'm likely assuming that's also one of the reasons he wanted to end the show, not just because of creative bankrupt, but because he legally would probably get into some shit if he kept it running.
Okay, so are we actually going to talk about Riley Rewind now, or are we just
Yes.
going to?
One more thing. Equals 3 was so successful, he had celebrity guests on it all the time. Like actual stand-up comedians. I showed these guys the clip where Robin Williams was on the show, but sometimes he had like full-ass guest hosts. Gabriel Iglesias, the famous comedian, hosted the show on multiple occasions. Pretty interesting.
How?
But yeah,
Actually, wait. I think I've seen that. I think I saw that episode.
you might have, yeah.
Probably, but that was like a decade ago. So.
Yeah, but yeah, this man was very ambitious. I have been mostly roasting his YouTube channel, but it is admirable that he did have a comedy music career. It wasn't good music, but it was popular, and he was one of the first people to do it. Nowadays,
Look, he
people,
has an important place in YouTube's history, is what we're trying to
yeah.
say.
Plus, who doesn't like the "Doing Your Mom" music video?
So Riley Rewind.
Yes, let's talk about
Yeah.
his first, his arguably most ambitious project, Riley Rewind. So, a little plot summary. If I could describe this movie or miniseries, it'd basically be Life is Strange mixed with 13 Reasons Why. And you know what? I'm gonna say it because both of these came out before both of those came out. You could argue that those people ripped off Ray William Johnson, but yeah, show is basically about Riley, a high schooler played by Anna Kana, who has the ability to time travel, just like Life is Strange. She has a token gay black best friend, so really just combining every stereotype. This was in 2013, where gay marriage and gay rights was becoming acceptable, but a lot of people didn't actually know how to properly depict them on television or the internet. So we kind of ended up in this thing that's trying to be progressive, but it's kind of offensive, honestly. And yeah, that's how I describe the entire show. Trying to be progressive, but unbelievably offensive because it's holy shit, this is not a good portrayal. This series covers lots of topics such as school shootings and suicide, and it just does it incredibly distastefully.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But what's the actual plot, like the premise?
Well, all right. So part one is just her just using her time travel thing to get a date, and she ultimately doesn't. And some nerdy dude asks her out, and she's like, "Yeah, all right." And then she hooks up her gay best friend with some other dude. The episode ends with her finding out that one of her classmates killed herself. For the next two episodes, she uses her time travel powers to go back in time and try to prevent that student from killing herself, and she ultimately fails and gives up. Also, as a butterfly effect thing, her gay best friend never got asked out by that dude. And also, for some reason, that dude is now in the closet, even though he was open, incredibly open before. And it's like, it's not how it works, but whatever. Let's see, what's the last two parts? The last two parts is her at prom, and then she finds there's a bomb there, and then she tries to stop the bomb. She eventually finds out that the person who planted the bomb was a disabled child who was in love with the girl who killed herself. So she uses her time travel things to sort of hook them up, get them to date, and yeah. And then it ends with a cliffhanger where the time police basically arrest her, and they
And we
ultimately
never got a sequel.
Yeah, never got a sequel. So who knows what happened next?
And that's Riley Rewind.
So I already said a lot of my criticisms during the thing. Why don't you guys go on?
I'll be honest, I never thought we'd see a more nothing motion picture than Green Hornet. Because holy shit, I have almost nothing to say about this.
Yeah, same here.
I'm amazed that it's a nothing movie, and also one of the most offensive things I've ever seen. Like it got no reaction from me. Yet if I actually like explain it to people, they'd be like, "What the hell?"
Like I'll say this, I think the concept is interesting. I mean, it's been done before, but I do like the addition of how every time she rewinds, like she hurts herself, like she gets a bloody nose or something.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was interesting, but as it went on, I realized, wait a minute, this premise is very similar to a TV show that aired in the mid 2000s called True Calling. Do you guys know that show?
No.
True
Mm,
Calling is about a medical student who has the ability to relive a day. Like every time somebody dies, they turn to her and they say, "Help me," and then she finds herself back in bed at the start of the day and she needs to figure out why they killed themselves or how they got killed and she needs to prevent it.
Huh.
It was a really good show. It was short-lived, but it was a really good show.
Wow. Okay.
This is like that, but less.
Yeah, I was gonna
except
say
for the
this reminds
fact,
me of like
she hooks up a homicidal maniac with a suicidal goth girl.
stylistically, it does remind me of a lot of '90s and 2000s like CW shows. Like it kind of feels like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but with like the time travel elements of Doctor Who and like a tiny bit of Veronica Mars with the way the high school stuff works. All of those shows are actually incredibly good though, unlike this one and unlike the other things I compared it to. Honestly, I would recommend you guys check out Life is Strange and 13 Reasons Why over this. I think those are awful, but I also think they are a lot more entertaining in many ways. Those games are and shows are kind of hilarious.
I
Um,
guess if I have one positive, it's that the production value is decent.
yes, this is a for a YouTuber, not bad production value. I thought the visuals sometimes are pretty good, sometimes kind of shitty.
I did think the
Uh,
brief moments of animation to introduce a character were neat, but that didn't
yeah.
really happen a lot.
The acting is okay.
I thought the main girl Riley did all right.
Yeah, Anna
Everyone
kind of did
else,
okay. Unrelated thing, but the token gay, uh, black friend, his hair is an absolutely atrocious. It is the worst hair I think I've ever seen on film. It's ridiculous. You guys know what I'm talking about. We
yeah.
talk about while watching the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah.
He's like got like a weird receding hairline, but it's all tattered up. It's like a weird mohawk, but like balding mohawk. It's weird. It's so weird. I feel like they should have just shaved it off. Honestly, there are kids that go bald at school. Like it's not. That's a less weird haircut. But whatever.
And I'm sorry, I have a question. What was the point of her establishing she doesn't like her glasses in the beginning, but at the end she's like, "Oh no, I actually like these."
It's
It's more of like
characterization that means nothing.
I guess more to be a thematic bookend is like, oh, I don't, accept myself. But at the end, I do accept myself, even though that's not the arc of the show at all. She
I
doesn't actually go through any character development, really.
The opening scene, okay, when I saw the opening scene where she like gets knocked back in the explosion and you see like electricity flow through her body, I thought that was the reason why she got her ability to rewind time,
Oh
but it
no, no,
wasn't. That was
No,
that
it
was
was
that
just a
just
was
flash forward.
foreshadowing.
yeah, I know, but then I'm like, wait, what? Because
Yeah,
like it showed up like on the clock. It showed
yeah,
up like it had a close up of the clock counting down, and I'm like, oh, that must be why she can rewind time. But no,
yeah. Well, I don't really think they need an explanation for why they can rewind time, but I guess the real question is, at one point she questions whether she can even change the future, and I'm like, she's had this time travel ability for her whole life, so wouldn't she have like tested it out? And like the only example we saw of the time travel before, trying to ask a dude out, but she failed every time. So it would kind of make you think that no, her time travel doesn't actually affect anything. It's basically just giving her a chance to relive certain moments. But like yeah, so like it's kind of confusing how they kind of try to make it seem like she can't change the past, but obviously she's gonna because that's how a show like this would work.
any other comments?
No.
I gained almost nothing from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Like I said, I think the concept could work, and again, it has, but so there's really no reason to watch Riley Rewind.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say like maybe a 2.5 out of 10, which is a little generous considering what I just said, but oh, there's a reason for that, which we'll talk about like right now.
Yeah, well, I
Kickassia.
mean, so this one, so I guess brief background. This was directed by Doug Walker, also known as the Nostalgia Critic. We've talked about him on this podcast before with his infamous wall review.
And if you
Um,
forgot about it, don't worry. We remember it so you don't have to.
yeah, that's his catchphrase.
The
So,
wall review was not
Doug
fun.
Walker was basically an incredibly famous internet reviewer in the 2000s. He basically got success by applying the angry video game nerds formula to internet reviewing, reviewing movies, specifically reviewing nostalgic movies from back in the day, particularly his nostalgic movies. Eventually, he got the idea of because his website was successful, he would use it to sort of boost other creators who make similar content to him. Because obviously people will go to his website and want to see people similar to him. So yeah, and he was able to build a very large community essentially. Eventually, it got so big he decided to make the bold idea of making an anniversary movie. So basically, the first one was just a short little short film where all the reviewers just sort of get into a giant fight mosh pit. Throughout Doug Walker's reviews, he actually crossed over with a lot of these creators, so they would already be familiar with his audience. But for the second anniversary, he decided to go ambitious and make a feature-length film, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So I guess the plot of the movie and also the production of this movie is Doug Walker finds out about this city called Molasses, which through some sort of legal
It's not even a city, it's just a patch of land.
patch of land that because of some weird legal stuff, it is technically not a part of the US and its own country. Now, this is actually true. I'm assuming Doug Walker must have actually heard this true story and decided to just call the guy and ask if they can film there. And he just said, sure, why not? So yeah, this movie is basically about all these reviewers joining up to invade this country, and then once they invade it, it's basically the story about the fall of a dictatorship as corruption and all that other stuff happens. Honestly, I'm gonna admit it, pretty realistic depiction of how revolutions can happen and then the country falls apart after revolution. Doug Walker is a genius, mayhaps. I'm kidding, of course, but I thought this movie had potential. I could see talented comedians actually make a pretty good movie with this exact premise. Monty Python, for example. Unfortunately, Doug is not a talented filmmaker or comedian, so it ended up being a disaster. Even when I was a kid and I was a fan of Doug Walker, I thought this movie sucked.
I didn't watch
And
any of Doug Walker's films. In fact, I didn't even know he made movies until like 2015, and that was around the time where I stopped watching his content.
that's the plot. Let's get into what we thought about it.
Okay. I was not at all enthusiastic at the prospect of having to watch a Doug Walker movie. Or a Channel Awesome movie in general. But, you know, I bit the bullet and I'm like, fine, let's just do it.
Actually,
And
just brief aside, you are technically the one that introduced both of us to Doug Walker. So,
know.
while this is entirely my fault, I can put a slight blame onto you as I would have never heard of him if it wasn't for you.
I mean, you also kind of agreed to choose Kickassia last time, so.
yeah, but I'm like,
Yeah, I gave you an option.
I'm like, let's just get this over with. So-
yeah. Speaking of which, we should just briefly talk about why we picked Kickassia and Riley Rewind as the double feature because they may not seem like an obvious pairing, but the way I saw it is that they're both incredibly untalented creators that were incredibly ambitious and desperately wanted to make serious art, and they both made it to varying success. They're also both incredibly popular in their respective spheres. Obviously, Ray was a bit more popular, but Doug was the one that was actually able to construct a company around it, a company that still to this day is operating and successful. So, arguably could win that Doug is the more successful creator, but Ray was more popular in the short run.
As I was saying, I was not at all enthusiastic about watching this movie, but we sat down, we watched it, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
I mean, to its credit, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I'll say it reminds me a bit at times of like those Scooby-Doo movies where the jokes are funny, but it's just the direction and delivery that makes the jokes not funny.
Yeah, I'll admit there are actually a few jokes in here where I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of funny. But the problem is they drag them on to like well beyond the point where they lose all impact.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the It's
it's
Time scene. Like,
Yeah,
a
the
really
It's
good
Time scene was-
concept, it just drags
Yeah.
on for 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah. It's kind of like a really bad Family Guy joke where they just keep it on for so long. But the thing is, Family Guy honestly has a better sense of timing. Now that I mention it, Family Guy actually had the exact same premise for an episode where Peter starts his own micronation because he finds out that technically his house is not a part of the U.S.
Funny you bring up Family Guy, sorry to interrupt, but it's funny you bring up Family Guy because I'm like, this plot feels like it would work in an episode of like Family Guy or South Park.
But it
What
is an
does that-
episode of Family Guy. That's
But
what I'm telling you.
what does this have to do with Channel Awesome? Because these people review movies.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with reviewing movies?
Yeah.
They say lines from movies, like when Doug Walker
Oh,
said a
yeah,
couple
Jesus
lines
Christ.
from Street
Again,
Fighter.
again, like Family Guy does.
Yeah, except Family Guy, some those bits are actually funny, like even if you don't know what they're referencing. In this one,
There's a
Here's
whole
the
like 5-minute scene of Santa Christ being killed.
this is a lore movie. Like you need to have watched Doug Walker's movies to understand this. And the thing is, I haven't seen any of his reviews in years, so I had like vague memories of some of the things they were referencing. But for the most part, I was kind of lost. I was like, who are these people?
I recognized the spiders guy. I don't know why he's there, but he is. And I recognized Santa Christ, and I recognized like one other guy among the cast.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know who half these people are.
Other
Yeah,
than
who
Nostalgia
also-
Critic, I only recognize Spoonie.
And
I
speaking
actually am familiar with a few of these reviewers, but the thing is that all these reviewers in their own videos have completely different personalities. The only person whose personality is accurate to his review counterpart is Phalis, because it is impossible to change Phalis' personality. He has a very distinct personality.
which goes back to my question, why them for this plot? Like if they wanted to make this movie, fine, but why not make your own original characters? Does it have to be the internet personas you established?
Yeah, or how about this?
I
Why
think that
don't
was
you
just
get-
the point, just to get all the Channel Awesome content creators together for
You
something.
can have the channel awesome content creators, but you don't have to be the persona. Make like characters that would make sense in the
Yeah.
scenario.
Either
Like-
that,
like-
or what I think they should have done is that instead of Doug just writing the entire thing by himself, make it a collaborative effort. TV shows have writers' rooms. Make it a writers' room where everyone sort of pitches their idea for the story, and make it actually feel like they're contributing and they're not just actors in your weird little vanity project. You guys want to talk about the technical aspects?
Oh yeah, if there's one thing that Doug Walker's very consistent with, it's lighting.
I have shot better stuff for my high school film class than this video.
Yeah, like
It's
I
better.
don't have a problem with the visual quality. I think like the old school like low quality camera, I think that has like a charm to it. But I mean like yeah, the lighting is like you don't have an excuse for that.
I can't even count the amount of times where you see a window in the movie and it's just blasting light.
Oy vey.
The audio quality is quite bad. In fact, sometimes when we were watching the movie and we were making commentary over it, I couldn't tell if the audio was coming from our garbled up shitty mics or the professional film crew's shitty mics.
But yeah, speaking of the technical aspects, there was that whole point in there's that whole scene in the beginning of part 2, which by the way, this movie's in parts.
It's in
For
some
6 parts
reason.
for some reason.
Yeah.
A
But there's-
six-act movie
And
because
I
he's
think
truly ambitious. This is just
I
like
think-
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I think the opening of part 2, there was like a whole like news portion where like they're explaining like what everyone's roles are in Kickassia.
Yeah,
But like the way it's shot is like why don't they like have like news headlines and stuff to make it look interesting, like cards with
Yeah.
like the names of people and their job. Like make it at least look like you're trying to make it a news. It's shot so bland.
I remembered nothing about that scene except at the end they try really hard to force a reference to Street Fighter, and that's it. That's all I remember.
All I remember
Oh
is
no,
that
no,
section.
I remember the line. I remember the line he says. It's like, "Hey, critic, do you get a lot of pussy with that costume?" And then he references Street Fighter.
Yeah, this
So-
movie has a lot of references to Street Fighter the movie.
Just
I
weird.
do
'cause,
remember
like,
that scene being long as fuck, though.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if there's one thing that I can criticize this movie for, aside from almost everything else, is its pacing. Because they want to try getting a lot of screen time with all of the other Channel Awesome content creators, but then you just get scenes that go on for way too fucking long.
Yeah, this movie should have been like a half hour shorter than it was.
like I say again, there's that whole scene near the end where the character of Santa Christ is killed and everybody's mourning about it for like 7 freaking minutes.
Oh
And it
yeah,
contributes nothing.
and that entire scene was a reference to the Care Bear movie. Yeah, whatever.
It
So that
has
entire
no impact on the plot. It's just a reference that gets dragged on, like all the other jokes in this movie.
so what jokes I guess did you think were funny?
Okay, one of the jokes.
Like the ones that didn't go on too long.
I think the
'Cause
I
I do
poison
think there
tea
were
gag was
brief
actually kind of
moments.
funny.
I thought one joke that they played out for just the right amount of time was when they're trying to get past the fence into Molossia, where like they're trying to shoot the fence, but it's like it's just going through it, and then they bring in a ladder and they accidentally drop it on the other side, so then they get a step stool. I
Yeah.
thought that was funny.
All right, yeah.
It wasn't milked.
Since you brought up the nostalgia check, it's very bizarre that her entire role in this movie is to be a bad Sarah Palin impression. I know this movie came out in 2010, so Sarah Palin was a little bit relevant, but honestly, was she? Because the election was 2 years prior, so like I don't
Yeah.
even know if like Sarah Palin was relevant at the time. But yeah,
I don't know. I haven't heard
very
I haven't heard
close.
anything about Sarah Palin since like I don't know, a little bit
Elementary
past the
school.
election.
My favorite part of the movie was when Board James showed up and quite literally just did a review of the game Risk. He just explained the rules of Risk. Incredibly entertaining, mostly because one, it actually was edited good, and two, James Rolfe has significantly more charisma than every single person in this movie, except Phaelus. Phaelus is incredibly charismatic.
I do have I speaking of people, I have a question.
Yeah.
What was the deal with the guy who was a JPEG?
That was just his thing.
Is that like his internet persona or something?
Yeah,
Imagine being 2D and having that be your entire character.
yeah.
And then he
I
turns
mean,
3D and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm 3D," and that's him for the rest of the movie.
let's
So yeah,
basically.
you need to know like everybody from Channel Awesome in order to like fully understand this movie.
He is the prototype for the YouTuber Rant Sona, except he just uses cutouts of himself instead of cutouts of some cartoon character.
I have a question.
Yeah,
What was the point of Mati from Captain Planet being in the movie?
that's just a reference to a Doug Walker Captain Planet review, I think.
But
Again, you need to
why?
know full Channel Awesome lore to know anything that's going on.
Yeah, like I've never seen Spoonie's reviews, so the whole Doctor Insane subplot, I was like, I don't know what this is. And for
I
some
think
reason, they shot those scenes in particular incredibly dramatically, poorly dramatically, but like they kept on making it seem like Spoonie had like a monster inside him that he must keep bay. They have multiple Hulk references because they also reference the Hulk with the 2D guy. That
correct
goes
me if I'm
knows?
wrong, but I think the whole Dr. Insano persona for Spoonie initially came from a different channel where he guest starred as Dr. Insano, and then that
Ah,
character just became associated with his channel.
Spoonie. Yeah, so I
So
think
who
like
knows? Maybe this movie is secretly great if you've seen every video from every single one of these content creators.
Yes, the
that
Channel
was
Awesome Cinematic Extended Universe.
Yes, maybe this movie is great if you know everything.
yeah.
But we don't, and we don't care to.
Anything else you want to say?
Not really.
I guess just
Yeah.
one little nitpick. Why, at the end of every part, why does it say to be continued when it's a full part?
Oh, because he released each part on a separate day, so it was like
Okay, I
1
figured
week
as much.
every. Yeah. I
Okay, then
just
that.
put
Alright.
together the compilation of the whole thing that way.
Mhm.
I wouldn't. Yeah, so it wouldn't be as annoying. So I guess you could argue this is also a mini series, but he considers it a movie, so I'm gonna consider it a movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my suggestion is watch the Family Guy episode instead. It's 20 minutes long, so a lot shorter, a lot better paced, and the jokes are actually good because it's one of the early episodes of Family Guy where it was actually a funny show.
Yeah. So again, not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but I cannot recommend this. Unless you're extremely curious.
I
So
guess
I'm gonna give it a 1.5 out of 10.
this is like a
And
2 out of 10 for me, but surprisingly, I think Riley Rewind is better, despite us having more to say about this movie than that.
it's better, but I find this one a little bit more entertaining, but at the same time, it's much worse. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Funny how things work out like that.
So anyway, I guess some recommendations. If you liked Riley Rewind somehow, watch Video Game High School, which is a YouTuber production that's people actually do like by Freddie Wong. Also got the high school angle. That one went on for 3 seasons, so that one was actually successful. Also, check out 13 Reasons Why and play the game Life is Strange. If you want something good that has Riley Rewind vibes, you can play Persona 3, 4, and 5. Watch the movie Donnie Darko, which is also a time travel high school thing. That movie's great, by the way. And I don't know, maybe play Amori. You know why I think it's similar to Amori, right?
I
Mori.
kind of see the resemblance.
Yeah.
What's a Mori?
It's a video game.
Uh-huh.
And maybe watch Juno. I don't know. Gave me some Juno vibes.
What? Riley Rewind gave you Juno vibes?
Yeah, because of the way the soundtrack was used mostly.
I guess. I don't know. It's been years since I've seen Juno.
Yeah, and also tried to be talk about, hip young kid issues. It did a much
We
better.
are relevant and trendy. How do you do, fellow kids?
The thing is, though, Juno actually was relevant and trendy, and it actually did succeed at capturing youth culture at the time.
I know.
I cringe when I watch Juno now, but at the same time, I'm like, that is what 2007 was like, so can I really criticize it? I do know kids did say for cheesy back then, so as much as I want to shoot myself, that's what 2007 was like, so I can't criticize it. So, if you somehow liked Kickassia, watch Suburban Nights to Boldly Flee Atop the Fourth Wall, the movie, Cinema Snob, the movie. And I don't know, the Spoonie movie, if that ever comes out. Some
When
other
was that
lore
announced?
movies, 5-6 years ago. Let's see, there's Dick Figures, the movie, Smosh, the movie, Fred, the movie, that Mega Man fan film you forced me to watch, and just the entirety of the Filthy Frank series. I'm gonna argue that one actually is entertaining though. So
Yeah, that is a million times better than this.
yeah, and some good YouTuber stuff you can watch just in general is Bored James, which is James Rolfe's series, Arctic, 8th Grade, Mystery Team, and I'd argue the Red Letter Media and AV Gen movie got the charm that these movies did not have. Also, Twisted the Musical. Anyway, it is now time
Okay.
for
The next recommendation, and
yeah, the next-
usually we would say that it's Lugia's turn since he comes after Red, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I am not going to be here for.
So we're just
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
switch Lugia and Patrick for this week. So next week, Lugia will be recommending, and then yeah.
And then it'll
So-
be you again, Red.
Yeah. So it's my turn again.
Yep.
So okay, I had like 3 movies flowing through my head as to what I want to choose. But I ultimately decided to go with this one. This is a movie from the category of hugely famous movies that were very successful by acclaimed filmmakers that I have never seen. And that is a huge list because I've seen there's a lot of famous movies I have not seen.
Yeah, I feel like we've introduced you to most of the famous
Yeah.
movies on here.
But this is a big one. Like a really big one.
Is it The Godfather?
No, but here's the thing. In order to do this movie, I think in order to do this movie justice, gentlemen, we're gonna need a bigger podcast. Jaws.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jaws, classic movie.
I have never seen Jaws before. But I'm
I
very
saw
Really?
Jaws for the first time, actually, I think earlier this year.
Really?
So, yeah, earlier this year, I just kind of went on a Spielberg craze where I just watched like a shit ton of Spielberg movies. Like I saw Hook for the first time, saw, I don't know, other stuff.
Do-do. Do-do-do-do-do,
Yeah, let's see.
do-do.
Okay, I saw Jaws for the first time September 23rd, 2020.
I
Almost
don't
a year ago.
remember when I saw Jaws. I just remember catching it on TV and watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
My parents never let me watch Jaws because they were afraid of what it would do to me.
Yeah, out of curiosity, what is your favorite Spielberg movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably say Jurassic Park is mine.
Oh, I love Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I saw that in theaters, actually. The first time I saw it was in theaters. That was a unique experience.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I
I've
remember
only...
because it was released in 3D.
Yeah,
a few years back.
I saw the Spielberg movies I saw in theaters were Jurassic Park, Tintin, Lincoln, and Ready Player One. And yeah, those are the only ones I saw in theaters. Yeah.
All right. So Anything else
Next
to add?
week. Nope. We are It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, and we remember it so you don't have to.